The story begins with a man jumping out of bed, questioning what could be happening. He notices the Empress, who smiles at him, stating that he's awake. In a panic, he questions what's happening. Seeing the blue flame, he wonders if someone used magic to start a fire. However, magic cannot be used inside the palace. But his wife Olive doesn't have magical powers, which means that someone else is targeting his life. He hits the wall, injuring his hand. He thinks to himself that the spiritist is to blame. He should have gotten rid of him when he had the chance. He spared Goldlot life, and he dares to try and take his life. He slowly approaches the Empress, stating that even he cannot extinguish these flames. However, the windows are open, so if they jump through the windows they can survive. They may break a few bones. However, she stares at his hand with a glint of disgust in her eyes. But he continues, stating if he holds her tightly. Suddenly, she interrupts, knocking his hands away. She tells him not to touch her, but he doesn't understand what she's saying. With the fury of a dragon in her eyes, she tells him if he wants to survive, he should jump himself. She clenches her fist and explains that it's true that the spiritist started the fire. However, she asked him to do it. Ludwig inquires if she's always trying to take his life. However, he doesn't care if it's from her. It could be death or poison. It doesn't matter. He grabs a hold of her shoulder, stating he doesn't care if she tries to take his life, but if this fire continues, she will die too. Her eyes open wide and sweat begins to run down her face as he states that the thought of losing the one he loves. She interrupts him, gripping her face and tears running down her face. She begs him to stop, saying that he loves her. He dragged her here and in prisoner in the palace, her friends, her family. He took everything that she cared about, and every day he told her he loved her. After doing all that, the thought of that makes her sick. She begins coughing and falls to the ground. Ludwig rushes to her aid. He understands, based on the state that she's in, she'll soon suffocate from the fire. He tells her that everything that has happened doesn't matter right now. She further elaborates on her earlier statement that she did not start the fire to get rid of him. She started it to end her suffering. She's smart, stating she would rather spend her eternity in the afterlife than be nurtured by someone like him, who trampled in everything she held there. With a soft expression, he inquires if that's what she really wants. She explains yes. He tells her that he does not understand. What should he have done? When she heard his words, she is petrified. All he wanted was to be with her. He was terrified at the thought of losing her. Getting rid of the ones around her was a mistake. It was just beyond his control. She pounced on him like a leopard to its prey. With vengeance and fury in her eyes, she tells him not to lie. She clearly remembers the day he took her brother's life right in front of her. He stood there for a long time looking at her deceased brother as if he enjoyed every minute of it, with her hand at his throat and sitting on top of him. She states out of his control, he's just someone who enjoys taking innocent people's lives. Tears rolled down her face as she screams that he should die. Hurry up and just die. Her tears fall on his emotionless face as he stares at her. He states if that's what she wants, so be it, but he inquires what could he have done to make her love him. She looks surprised that he's asking that now. She tells him that if he wanted to be loved, he should have acted like a decent human being. She falls on him unconscious, stating that things would have been very different. His eyes widen in shock. He hugs her, finally seeing what he should have done. However, even if he could have done that, it's already too late. But just in case, he was giving a second chance. He promises to do things the right way. In the next scene, Olive jolts out of bed. A maid opens the door and inquires if she's awake. She coughs non-stop, telling her that she's awake. The maid rushes to her side, inquiring why she's coughing so much. She suggests calling a doctor, but Olive tells her no. A doctor is not needed. Dread fills her mind. She believes that everything that happened was just a nightmare. She can't remember the details, but her throat was sore and she couldn't breathe. She exclaims that it was probably a dream where she couldn't stop hiccuping forever. Olive's personal maid Isabel laughs and tells her that must have been one scary dream. Olive tells her not to laugh, and if she has any idea how hard it is not to stop hiccuping. Isabel states if it's that hard, she won't be able to attend the palace tea party today. Olive exclaims, no way. Currently, this is Olive Chartres. She's 12 years old. Her mother said there would be lots of delicious food and sweets. On her brother promised to show her the beautiful rose garden, so she has to go. Isabella states if it's such a wonderful tea party, she really has to go. Her eyes being with joy as Isabella tells her to get up and get ready. At the tea party, she comments that even though she was looking forward to it, it's very boring. However, the pastries were very delicious, but now she's full. Also, her brother left because he had urgent business to deal with. He told her not to wander the place alone, but she feels that's impossible as this is the palace. She can manage wandering the place on her own, so she decides to go on a little adventure to the rose garden. In the rose garden, a boy with dark eyes stare into space. Suddenly his eyes open wide and colors come back to it. He looks into the fountain and wonders if that is him when he was younger. He ponders if he's having a flashback since he's about to lose his life. However, the sensation in his hands, the smell of the roses, it's too vivid to be a memory. Maybe he survived. However, the reflection in the fountain is of a young child, so maybe magic was used on him to make him look younger. But that wouldn't explain his surroundings, so logically speaking it makes sense that he was transported by a magic circle to a far distance place. But where is this place? Noticing the rose bush, the garden looks like a place he visited when he was younger. He then realized that he's holding a hunting knife. That blade is cracked. He remembers that in his past he had an accident with a broken knife, so this means that he's in the past. He is then filled with hope because if the magic is not teleportation but travel back in time magic, then Olive is still alive. He starts running with a dagger, exclaiming Olive. He knows she's around here somewhere. Even if this is a second chance given to him, if she's not alive it means nothing. Meanwhile, Olive smiles, thinking it's just as her brother said, the roses are truly beautiful and the breeze is truly refreshing. However, her brother never mentioned that the garden is a maze. She holds her head, thinking that her mother is going to punish her. Why didn't her brother tell her? She hates him. But that's why her brother told her not to go alone, but she didn't listen. Suddenly she hears the voice of a boy calling her name. She thinks that her brother has come to find her. However, she wonders why the tone of voice is so commanding. But it doesn't matter, it's way better than getting scolded by her mother. She shouts that she's over here. Suddenly a boy appears with a dagger in his hand, breathless. He stares at her and she stares back at him. For a moment time seems to have slowed down. She's surprised to see this unknown kid calling her. She questions why this kid was calling her name. Maybe it was a search squad. But she notices the sword and wonders why he's holding it. She then thinks he's come to assassinate her. He tries to approach her, but she flings a stone at his forehead, telling him to get away from her. He tries to cover his face from the stones. She tells him that she doesn't know who he is, but he won't get anything from taking her life. He inquires if she doesn't remember him. She stops attacking him with stones. She explains that she doesn't know him, but how does he know her? He's happy, exclaiming that it seems that he's truly been given a second chance. She stares at him, enchanted by his beautiful smile, and thinks he's cute when he's smiling. He kneels down and asks her to stop showing stones at him now. He explains that the knife he's carrying is a hunting knife for rabbits. It has startled expression. She inquires why he was calling her name. He tells her it's better to say that her brother asked him to. He heard that during the tea party she went on her own and got lost. She inquires who he is and if he is her brother's friend. They look the same age, so she thought he could be her classmate. In a smooth voice he states that his name is Ludwig. His gentleman-like stature on his smooth words enchants her. He tells her to get up and he'll get her out of the maze. She hesitated for a moment because she's never heard that name before. She wonders if there was truly someone like him among her brother's friends. She never knew her brother had a friend that was her age. She questioned him that since he said he was her brother's friend, then what is her brother's name? He states his name was Planner, he thinks. She questions if he really calls her brother by his last name. She inquires if her brother told him her name. He said he did. She inquires if her brother mentions her a lot. He replies that it doesn't matter if he does. Since she's the youngest of such a prestigious family, she is quite famous. He starts guiding her out. He tells her to hold on to his hand as the maze is very complex and she can get lost. They've been walking for quite a while. She didn't realize that she was so deep in the maze. They've been walking for about 30 or 20 minutes. He said that she is always like that. When she sees something that she really likes, she goes head first into it and then talks about it for the entire day. He tells her that he missed those days, but she looks at him unimpressed, wondering what he's blabbering about. They arrived at the entrance and he explains that he could guide her because he knows the way very well. She thanks him, but before she goes he inquires what it means to be humane. She ponders what he's talking about, but forgetting that he went back in time and isn't dealing with his current wife, he tells her that she said he should be more humane, but that criteria differs for each person. She inquires who said that. He responds someone she knows very well. Suspicious, she asks who. He tells her that he needs her answer, not anyone else's. She tells him that, as he said, the standard criteria for humane varies for each person, so it probably means to live consciously. He explains that such simple things are very difficult for him, but he believes that it can change a lot. She questions what will change, but he states at least she can be herself. Her eyes light up from the thoughts of his words. He gets on his knees and kisses her hands and exclaims that it was nice to meet her. She blushes as he tells her that he'll be going now and she can find her way back to the tea party. He looks back, stated the next time they meet he'll show her something different. Byzantium, the only empire in the west of the imperial palace located in the empire. It is also a garnet palace where the imprisoned noble state, and the third prince who had lived there from childhood as if he were dead, Ludwig Magneto. His life is far from royal, low-quality meals and low-quality clothes. The moment he was born, he was turned away by the emperor and sent to the Garnet Palace. He's a beautiful noble whose existence is hardly known. All those words represented Prince Ludwig but he did not care. Despite the fact that he's a fair noble and assigns only fair task, a substantial grant not much different from other nobles. Cunning courtiers were embezzling freely. But he didn't care, he didn't need that money, eating good food or wearing jewels, it didn't matter. At that time he had nothing to enjoy, however it's different now. There was something he wanted. He wanted his empress, his beloved Olive, to love him. However, it did not work out so well. He thinks about his situation and decides this time he'll work hard. And make sure that things are different, he must qualify to be loved by her. Suddenly Prime Minister Finn enters his room inquiring why he was called at this late at night. This man is a part of his plan, he is the Minister of Finance. Ludwig will need money to be a suitable man for Olive and her family. Finn wanted to leave, but Ludwig asked if he's from the Serene Kingdom. Finn confirmed this. Furthermore, he came over to the Empire and received a marquisate. He married at 19 with his 2 sons. And then took the life of his beloved wife personally. He took her life when she demanded a divorce after enduring his cruel treatment. He disposed of her in the sewer around last winter. Finn trembles, questioning how did he find out. Ludwig tells him it doesn't matter how he found out, what matters is how he will use it to blackmail him. Ludwig tells him to come closer. Sweat runs down his face, he wonders if he should take Prince Ludwig's life. After all, he's a disgraced prince, it's not like he will be missed. Then his secret will be secure, but he is stopped in his tracks when Ludwig reveals that he made a visit to the sewer yesterday. Pointing a dagger at the Ludwig, he states that his wife's left arm was still there. Finn gets on his knees and Ludwig informs him that when speaking he should adjust his tone to the master's tone. Ludwig tells him that now his level is just right. He suggests that they talk somewhere more private. 3 months after that night, the Garnet Palace had completely changed. Servants loyal to Ludwig filled the palace. On the servants who were embezzling money vanished without a trace. The huge sum of money that had been illegally diverted found its way back to its right owner. After he reclaimed his money, he started to multiply his money through unconventional means. He extended loans to various nobles who were in financial distress due to bad harvest or business bankruptcy. These loans are distributed in the form of high private loans, as is usually the case with high private loans. Many nobles could not manage the interest. As a result, their land were used as collateral. Finn questioned what he planned to do with those lands. He exclaims the gold coins are easier to carry off an abscon of that land. Finn nervously states that it's not what he meant. Ludwig states that he's just going to start a business. The place that they're going to is also part of the business preparations, but Finn is curious about why they are heading to the White UX Villa, who are famous for their magical science. He believes it would be better to discuss money matters with Viscount Karu. Ludwig tells him that his thinking is rude and unconventional. To run a business they need products, and to create a business they need technology. For technology, research must be conducted first, and for research to be conducted, he'll need high-quality materials. He plays a list of documents on a table and states that he'll need all of it. The head of the White ducal family inquires when he said that he could take it. Instead, he said that he could borrow it. Ludwig angrily states that given the amount of money that he spent, it makes sense that he can take it. Austin explains that he comes here all the time to bleed him dry. Yet he still says that he picked only the finest materials. Last time it was agronomy and now it's pharmacology. He inquires if he's planning to build a herb garden, but Ludwig tells him to be quiet and get to work. Suddenly Austin eyes open wide as he realized that Ludwig had found a magic book and hid it in the stash. Duke White explains if he thinks he can buy their treasure and pay pennies. He tells him to pay 5 times as much. Ludwig calmly reminds him that he had said he can borrow anything in the library, and that money is not a problem. Changing his word is really annoying. Duke White comments that he's a rude apprentice. Ludwig reports that rumors say that Duke White is over 100 years old now, that he seems to be losing his mind. It seems that it is true. Duke White inquires if he's not an apprentice, but a complete stranger who wants to steal his materials. Ludwig exclaims die, stating that's convenient. He tells Finn to prepare to move the entire library. He states that he'll make good use of these materials so he can die now. Duke White becomes angry and tells him to get out. He suspected Ludwig will prepare and plant herbs on his vast lands. At the same time, Ludwig performed pharmacological research. Based on the borrowed materials, Duke White comments that it's unfortunate that someone so unethical has medical talent. Ludwig achieved results very quickly. He created a colorful portion and things that it will do. The newly developed drugs were 2 types. One of the drugs had a reducing fever effect called myongiac. On the other one has an analgesic property is called myic. In addition to the excellent effect, demands for these medicines were high, and they soon began to circulate within the market. 5 years after the fever reducer developed by Ludwig became an essential medical item, consistently generating substantial sales. However, more stimulating products always makes more money. The sales of Mayak for exceeded the sale of Mayonjayak. Even with a handful of it, hundreds of golds were exchanged. Finn stands next to some sacks wondering how much they are worth. However, the prince is a madman, just taking one makes his skin crawl. At that moment, Ludwig approaches him and states that he always stands there whenever he comes to deliver the goods. He asked if he likes the drugs that much. Ludwig asked Finn if he knows what happens when he covets what belongs to others. A chill goes up his spine and he exclaims, "Of course, your highness." Ludwig states that he looks like a freshly dead frog. Even his comparisons are scary. Finn thinks that if he catches him embezzling the drugs, he will be finished. Ludwig then informs him they'll be withdrawing from the Mayak business and will be only selling to those who really need it. Finn exclaims if they're giving up on such a great product that has brought in more than half their revenue. He asked if he doesn't think it's a waste. Ludwig responds, "How could it be a waste when it's not even his?" Ludwig places a hand on his shoulder and questions if he has something to lose. Finn then rushes off, stating that he'll deal with it immediately. Ludwig knew that the distribution company was embezzling the drug he created. However, based on the blue spots beneath Finn's eyes, it seems that he's been consuming a lot of it himself. But enough of that. Now back to Olive. Considering her family, the money he's made is sufficient. Now all that's needed is for him to win her favor, and in order to do that, it's best to get rid of anything problematic like Mayak. He thinks it's time to start tidying up and live ethically like a human being. At this rate, everything is going smoothly, and it will soon be a matter of time when she falls in love with him. 2 years later, Olive has grown into a beautiful and gorgeous woman with gorgeous eyes and beautiful green hair. There are little words that can explain her beauty. Her brother inquires with a smile while she's looking for him, as it's weird for his Olive to come seeking him out so early in the morning. He then shudders at the fact that she is running. He exclaimed that he's not quite ready in such an early morning. She then jumps into his arms, which almost knocks the life out of him. However, he thanks her for celebrating with him. Bleeding, he turns his back to his sister. She inquires if he's okay. He tells her not to worry, he's fine. He's only weak in the morning. He turns around and gives her a hug, stating it's no big deal when he receives a hug from Olive. But more importantly, why is she looking for him? She tells him that it's nothing serious, but his birthday is today, and she wants to discuss it with him. He's touched. The girl who hasn't visited his birthday in 3 years is finally giving him a present. He informs her that she doesn't need to give him a present, just coming is enough. However, she has other ideas. She inquires if Prince Karl is coming. But all hell is going to break loose when Ludwig finds out, since he's been friends with Prince Karl from way back. She's wondering if he will also be attending the birthday party. He gives up and reveals that yes, he is coming to his party. She exclaims if he's coming, she has no time to waste. She exclaimed that she needs to pick out her prettiest clothes and maybe she should try wearing makeup for once. Her brother then slams his hand on the table and calls for her, but unfazed she inquires what's wrong. He tells her he cannot understand her. What does she even see in that scrawny little weakling? She's flabbergasted and inquires how he can say such things about royalty. Does he want to be imprisoned for insulting the royal family? Her brother responses, according to the Constitution, the formation of character can only lead to a maximum fine. He asks if she slept through law class or something. She angrily responds, what's so wrong with Prince Karl? After all, he's royalty. He's handsome and her father approves. Her brother retorts she may not know, but he's the type of person to choose national affairs over personal matters. If something happens, he'll throw her out and bring in the people. And why does she think that the prince is handsome? This makes her angry, and she states that he is handsome, clean, neat, features a kind smile, and that look on his face that makes him look so noble. But most importantly, he's very popular among the young ladies. He places a hand on her shoulder and inquires where she got conned into believing that. She comments that he calls the prince weak, but if they compare, he is weaker. She tells him that she's got what she wanted and waves goodbye. He gets angry that she's just using his birthday as a chance to flirt with Karl. He thinks that she never listens to him, but now that he thinks about it, it's strange. Carlos has never sent a visit notice that he's coming to any of his party ever. The content was simple, so he never bothered to read it, but he questions why it was sent as an official document. Maybe there is something more behind it.